Hello. Now, if you have a Monoprice Mini Delta, it's inevitable that you're going to come across this problem at some point. The problem is, one day you'll come to your 3D printer and it will have not finished printing. Instead, what you'll have is a massive loop, if you can see, of PLA hanging out the front, and this tube here will have come disconnected from the extruder, and you can see it's kind of glued in, so it won't be glued in anymore. And this is, well, let's put it this way, I've got two of these printers, and this is the second one to show this fault, so it just happens all the time. You need to be prepared for it, which is why the wiki for the printer suggests you print out this part. And you also will need, give me 1 second, you'll need one of these. Let me get you a close-up. It's a PTFE connector. There we go. Very, very available on eBay or whatever. Now I'm gonna zoom in a bit. There we go. So you can see what I'm about to do. The fix is pretty simple. You just need a screwdriver and a socket or spanner for this thing. Now you can print this part. You can print this part out in PLA. I've gone for PETG because it's just a bit stronger. And by the way, you absolutely can print PETG on the Mini Delta. Don't believe the rumours that you can't. You can. It just does. It does it almost out of the box, honestly. Right, I'm going to remove this part then. Take these two screws out. I realise you can just see the bottom of the screwdriver now. One screw. This is not really big Clive level disassembly, is it? We're just taking two screws out. The only thing you've got to be careful of is this spring here will potentially ping out when you remove this piece. It doesn't always, and it hasn't this time. This spring here, if it came out of that little slot there, it would twing across the room. Remove that. That's no good. Obviously, you need to remove your PLA filament. Now, this goes in here, but this thing has a massive tendency to crack if it's not held in by screws, because the shape of the, you know, that will, once it's screwed in, that will stop it, or at least if it does crack, it's not a massive issue. If it does crack, I believe it will still work fine. I haven't noticed any problems. It's not the best design, to be honest, but you know, it's one of those things. If it works, we go with it. Right, two screws back in. Remember when you print this part to print it 100. If you're printing it on a Delta, you need to do it 103%, which means you're printing it 3% bigger, because the Delta invariably prints everything 3% smaller than it really needs to be. Make sure that spring is tucked in there, and you're literally just screwing that on. PETG is slightly more flexible than PLA, which is why I'm choosing it, because if you're screwing into it, you want it to kind of give rather than snap. But I did print the other one when I fixed it. I printed that out of standard PLA. This brown PLA actually is what I printed it out on. It was fine. Right, so now I've got that in place, we need to just make sure. I could do with a longer socket, but I haven't got one. You just need to gently screw this in, and you need to really make sure you screw it in exactly to the point where it, because the connector, I don't know whether all connectors are like this, but the connector is slightly longer in terms of screw thread than the actual space in there to screw it into, if that makes sense. And we're done. So I'm gonna have to, that's annoying, I'm gonna have to get myself some scissors, Ooh, this is going to be tricky. In fact, what I will do is not get scissors, because I won't be able to pull that out afterwards. So we're going to see if we can do that without... There we go. Interestingly, I don't believe... there we go. Yeah, you know, the proper way to do it would have been to make sure the filament was taken. Actually, do you know what? Leaving the filament in actually helps, because I can pull that back. Right, and I mean, that is essentially, because this is a push fit connector, that is essentially done. That's done the job. That is all there is to it. I think that will work fine, but obviously if it doesn't, all you've got to do is just, you know, if it snaps anything like that, all you've got to do is just print out another piece, try again. It's that simple. And the piece, I will link it below. It's just on Thingiverse, and it takes about 48 minutes, I think, to print on standard settings. So it can't hurt to print one out in advance before it breaks. But obviously, if it's too late, then you're going to have to get someone else to print it out for you. Or, potentially, you could, you know, kind of make sure this... You could probably almost glue the tube back in temporarily, because obviously it's... The way it's held initially, I think it might have been glued in or hot welded in or something. So you could either glue it or hold it for the 48 minutes while you print out the part. I think that would be possible, but obviously having two printers means one could resurrect the other, which is obviously good, but, you know. Right, anyway, that is it. I hope that helped. That is all you've got to do when your extruder snaps. It's the easiest problem to fix, which is good because it's the most common problem. Thank you for watching. If you found it interesting, then please like, and if you are interested in general electronics, 3D printing kind of stuff, then please also subscribe. I will see you later.